photographers knocking people out of my shot, while I'm doing the live shot. And then my expensive shoes. You know me and shoes. I love shoes. So
Mhm.
um, they were Jimmy Choo shoes. Of all the things that I was so proud to have them. I was so happy, these designer shoes. They got ripped off. They got ripped off, and I ended up chasing the person who ripped them off. And it was a dude,
You were it was a pursuit on foot.
pursuit on foot with my microphone.
You are helping me out in a big way because I just made a transition from 31 years in broadcast news
Mhm.
and into online creator.
I mean, that's what we do. We just sort of evolve with everything that's happening,
Looks that way. I'm going to
right?
introduce you all to my girl. This is Maria Arcega-Dunn, highly accomplished 9-time Emmy award-winning broadcast journalist with nearly 3 decades of experience in local, national, and international television news. Born in Canada, Spanish and Filipino heritage, raised in Calgary, developed a passion for storytelling early. Her family nicknamed her the town crier
That's
as a child
right.
for relaying information. Is that true?
It is. I got in trouble for it actually a couple of times.
What? Relaying information?
Yeah, you hear things and then you repeat it.
Oh,
More like a parrot, really. But things like I would hear my mom say something about the neighbor or about my cousin, and I would go over and say, "You know what?" And I would tell them. I would tell them the full conversation, and that got me into trouble a few times, more than once anyway.
well, with every bright light, there's a dark shadow.
I think our
Might be what
skills that we're born with and things that we think are bad are usually the things that we end up doing later in life.
isn't that interesting how that works out?
Yeah,
And what
yeah.
makes us different when
It
we're kids, we don't want to be different.
No,
We want to be like everybody else. And
I knew I was different from the very beginning. I already knew that. And I knew
how so?
it's funny because I think and I'm not sure if you had this, but I knew I was going to be in front of people. I didn't know in what capacity. I thought maybe like, people kept saying, "You're gonna be a doctor," and in a Filipino family, being a doctor is a great thing. I had the grades for it, all of that, but I actually had no interest in it, you know? Um, but I always knew that I was going to do something in front of people, whether it was law or something else, but I just had a feeling I was going to be in front of people.
When did you, how old were you when you got into news in the first place?
I was 25, 24.
And you were in college before that?
Yeah, I was in college, but I was already working in radio. I was doing the news updates in the early mornings
In
and
Canada?
yeah, and
Is
we
it
were
cold?
we were doing it on reel to reel. So
Oh,
I
so was
was
I back then.
so I was splicing, my news, segments together and doing it in real time. It was a crazy time.
Did you go out and get the sound bites or were they brought in for
They
you?
were
Or
brought in at that
okay.
time in the morning because it was a morning show. So 3 in the morning, I had to do the early morning drive and do the quick news updates. And I remember, like, I think it was in my first week, I cut myself with a razor and was bleeding in the room while I was doing the news update. It was like one of those things that you never forget. And I remember at the time I was in college and I went into the professor's office and cried. And I said, I don't, I don't think this is for me.
What were you made wait, you about the broadcasting or
Hmm.
about the shaving? No, I just
Yeah. Well, maybe a little of both.
What did the professor say when you said that?
Um, he said, pull yourself together.
Was it because you were nervous or was it because of the what brought that about? I can't imagine that ever crossing your
Because
mind
I
when you
sliced my finger and there was blood everywhere, and then I was wrapping it with, whatever I could find. I had a scarf at the time. It was winter, I remember. And it was even more funny because my mom drove me there that morning, early in the morning. But I just thought, "I'm no good at this." Like, I was rushing, and that's how I ended up cutting myself.
Oh, gotcha.
So I kept thinking, "I'm no good at this." And then there were people who said at the time, because there weren't many women of color in TV. There were, I mean, we had Oprah and Connie Chung, and they didn't look like me, but I knew they were women of color.
So, did somebody say something to you? Did your professor say something to you that
Family actually said something to me saying that, there was a lot of people who were not supportive of what I was doing. They said, just go into medicine or just go into law. You got to accept it. Go in. Why are you doing this? Nobody wants to see you on TV.
what
Yeah.
are they talking about?
Well, I mean, I think at the time it was more about security. I think they were more concerned that being on TV was not a secure career.
Oh, I thought you meant like personal safety, but you mean like, oh, it's like 1 in a million get
Like
into broadcast
you're
news
not gonna, yeah,
and it's, you can get canned when you get older and
yeah,
all that. Well, that
yeah.
none of that turned out to be true
No, it's
at
been
all.
30 years and I'm, you know,
More sought
mm,
after than ever, in my
yeah,
opinion. I don't know
absolutely.
if you would say the
I
same.
would. I would actually because I find myself so busy. And one of the things that this career has afforded me is a platform. And it's not that I want to be a politician or anything like that, but I like to see change in the community and I like to affect it in some way or another, whether it's advocating for minorities or, just helping people get ahead. I'm in the process of opening up my own nonprofit.
I was just gonna ask you about that.
Yeah,
What is
lead
that about?
it's called Lead Like Them, and Lead Like Them is almost like a mentorship type program where I can connect, a lot of the underserved students who are very deserving to people because I know a lot of people. I know people in politics, I know people in medicine, I know people in law, I know judges, I know you and I both know those people,
Mhm.
and through this nonprofit, I will connect them with those people to help them find out if this is the career they want to do and also be able to maybe shadow them. And I've talked to a lot of these, professionals that I work with or that I know, and they're all about it.
So, what age group are they girls? All girls?
No, lead
Boys or
like
girls?
them. So originally it was lead like her. And then I realized there are a lot of young men who need mentorship too. And all they need is somebody to encourage them. And that started with that professor. He said, pull yourself together. He said,
He said, "Pull yourself
He said,
together."
"Pull yourself together, you're fine." He said, "If there's anybody I know," and he wrote about it actually in a book that he released, that I thought this may not be the career for me. And he told me, "I see in you something different, and you're gonna do this. You're gonna do this."
And that was like a watershed moment for
I
you.
needed I needed that, I needed to hear it from
Well, because
somebody.
we're all actually pretty terrible when we first start. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not I'm sure you weren't nearly as polished as you are now. I'm sure you were great. You a lot better than I was, no
I
doubt about it. I
I don't
mean,
know about that,
I'll
but
do a reenactment later on my first time on TV. It was a memorable moment.
I
I
had a few
should
of those too.
Yeah, a memorable moment. So, all right. So you're in Canada. You're doing radio, news updates, some
Mhm.
traffic in the morning, and you
And then I
decide
got
not to go to law school.
Right, and then I got into a local TV station, and I was able to go in there, and I realized, like, I need to really pursue communications, and, I ended up
Well, what
getting
were you majoring in college, or had you already gotten out of
I'd
college?
already gotten a degree in sociology and of all things social work.
Okay. Oh, well, that makes sense. I mean, look at
So,
what you're doing now with this
yeah,
foundation.
yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to be a part of the community, that's a big part of, what I do, whether it's grassroots organization or whatever, but yeah, I did that, and then I went in to mass communications, and I did a major in broadcast news, and
Oh, you went back?
I
Oh,
did it at
bless
night.
your heart. Oh gosh. So this local TV station in Canada,
Got me in
how did that
as an
work out?
intern.
Oh, okay. And so what did you do for them? What was that like? Was that back in the day, like when I was doing an internship and they were still
Yes,
throwing tapes at each
that's
other?
right,
Yeah,
back
it
then.
was a different.
Rip and reads.
It, oh boy.
Yeah, rip and reads.
So
So,
you were there. Who were you interning with? Was there a particular person or a department?
the network was CTV. So,
Is that Canada
it's
TV?
a yeah, it's a Canadian television, broadcasting kind of, network. There's a few of them. There's CBC, CTV, Global, and so I was lucky enough to work for all 3. Later in
Oh,
life. Yeah. And yeah, I remember some of the reporters and news anchors saying, "Oh, so you want to do this?" Almost, it was so discouraging at that point, like it was surprising how people talk to, but you develop a tough skin. If there's anything you have, it's that. And I remember telling them, yeah. and I'll take your job.
Oh, I was just gonna ask, was there a moment because we have to learn how to take criticism and or not take it.
Mhm.
Was there a moment where you just learned how to do that? Was there a memorable moment? Was that one of those
It
moments
was one
at
of
that
those
moment?
moments,
And
and also, I think inherently you know who I am as a person. We've been friends for such a long time and for decades, and so, I just say what I mean, and
nobody ever accused you of beating around the bush.
no, I just don't have time for it. And also, it's just not how I operate. I think that you just have to say it. And so there were moments when like I found myself holding back and I realized that that's just not working for me.
So what kind of things did you cover? I
I
mean, did you
covered local crime, things like that. I mean, it's the stuff that reporters do, community events, local crime. I remember coming up with this whole series. And my news director at the time was surprised that I was taking this on. I said, I have access to, because I got really close to the cops and they said, hey, we can let you talk to a guy who's actually a burglar. He goes into homes, he's been convicted, accused, all of those things, and we'll let you have access to him.
I
So,
bet he regretted that.
well,
Not the boss, but the criminal.
here's the thing. I just wanted because there was a series of break-ins in homes, and so I turned it into a series, you know
Of how to be anti like, you don't want people breaking into your house?
Absolutely.
This guy's gonna teach you how
He's
he did
gonna
it, and so that
straight from the criminal.
and what did he say? Did he say, "Leave your front yard a little messy by any chance?"
He said a lot of things.
Okay.
Um, you never wanna make it, obviously look like certain things, but you have to check windows. You have to check, there are
Yeah.
things that people don't do, whether it's not lock their car or leave, their garage door open. There are ways to get into a house.
It's such a young person coming up with such a smart idea.
But to me, it was revolutionary at the time because there weren't stories like that. So I did a whole series of them where I walked around with him and we cased homes and showed people where their weaknesses were.
That's
Isn't
awesome.
that great? And
That's a
so
great idea. You
it
should do
turned
that
into,
again. You should
yeah,
do that now.
it did. It turned into such a great series. My news director at the time, after my internship, hired me because I did that as an intern
Oh, that doesn't surprise me.
and they put me on the air.
Yeah, you're pretty high on the IQ scale.
So I don't know about that. But
Much higher than me.
no, I doubt
Well
that.
so they hired you for what? Beat reporter? Were
Beat
you
reporter.
Now, what was it like when were you okay, were you covering a beat? Were you working the beat? Did they give you beat days?
It did
Because
not so it what saying was that in the very beginning, they just made me a general reporter, a general assignment reporter. So they
okay,
wanted to
so
see what I
whatever
could
the
cover.
desk gave you, they
Yeah,
would
but I ended up covering crime.
hmm,
And in a
interesting.
little town in Alberta, you know, I don't know, I mean, crime was, either petty theft or, like I said, break-ins, and that was a big deal, the fact that there were break-ins.
Okay. And more interesting, when you see how to not get broken into.
Right, from straight from the criminal's mouth.
So how long did you work there?
Just over a couple of years, so that's it, and I ended up getting a job overseas
Tell me
because
about that. You went from CTV
yeah, I went
to
from local news and
CNN Asia?
uh,
Where did you go from
so
there?
I ended up going with CNN International, and
Okay,
so they
that's
needed people who spoke various language or were at least familiar with various countries. And so I was able to get in. At the time, it was so much easier than it is now. Like now you got to go through all the hoops. There, I was just like, I sent my tape and I said, hey, I speak more than one language. In Canada, we speak French, we speak English. I spoke a number of Filipino dialects. It helped me, and I said, hey, I can do any work, like any reporting work you need. And so they flew me to Atlanta,
Mhm.
and I
CNN.
was a Canadian, and they said, "So you wanna do reporting, what have you done?" And I showed them
Burglar
little my
series.
burglar series and, like, some little things that I was doing, accidents, car crashes, things like that, and I got a call back. I got a call back, and somebody heard about me, and I ended up having an agent of all things. I couldn't believe I had an agent, and they helped move me very quickly. I was only, in Atlanta for a couple of weeks doing feed stuff, where you just do the reports
Yeah.
over and over and it gets
Yeah,
fed to
because
all the.
back then it was a 4-hour news wheel,
Yes.
and it had the same news anchor,
Yes.
and they read the same stories. It was like a robot could have done it.
Right. And
It
but
is
also
so.
reporters did the same thing.
How new was CNN back then? When did they launch? I know I've
S
got it in my notes somewhere, but
I don't
it was
know, but it was like 1998,
okay.
99.
So, it was fairly new when you were there.
I mean, yeah, but
It was still on
easier
the
to get.
4-hour wheel
Yeah,
of one anchor, 4 hours
absolutely.
reading the same
Mhm.
stories like a robot.
But the fact that I had a sort of international, appeal in terms of the way I looked and the way and the languages that I spoke, that I could navigate being overseas, that was a big thing for them. So they quickly moved me to Hong Kong. I got this opportunity to go to Hong Kong. I remember the anchor there was Relitsa Vasileva. She was, the CNN anchor for international, and she was also based out of Hong Kong. And
Had
so,
you ever been to Hong Kong before?
yes, I had
Okay.
with my family because my family's from the Philippines. So we would travel back and forth,
Mm.
stop in Hong Kong, shop, eat, all those things. But then at a very young age, I was overseas. I remember that moment where, like, they moved me into my little flat and, you're young, you don't even realize what you have in front of you. You just know, man, I'm in a huge city. My family's an ocean away.
Were you homesick?
I got homesick. I remember the first time, and I think it was Thanksgiving, and all I wanted was turkey.
They didn't have any turkey in Hong
None.
Kong?
They don't even know what stuffing is or things like that. So I had to
Oh,
I
boy.
wrangled up a roasted chicken and turned it into a Thanksgiving dinner, but that was the only time that I really felt super homesick.
Oh,
Yeah.
I got real homesick when one of the first stations I went. I had never been away from a big Italian family. I was terribly homesick. What a little, what a little. It just
Well,
felt
that's
like a childish thing, but I guess it's something you have to go through when you move away from your family.
well, and especially for you and me, we come from ethnic families. And there's just something different about the way we are. We're big, we're in each other's business, we're always around each other, and then suddenly you are somewhere else and you're by yourself.
Man, I have never to this day. I still haven't shaken that.
You still
I
miss.
Yeah, because when in 2001, September
Mhm,
2001, I
mhm.
moved out here. I had a non-compete at the station I was working at
In
in
Virginia.
Norfolk, yeah, Virginia Beach. And, I told my big Italian family, I'm gonna peace out.
I'm going to California.
I gotta go for, like, a year.
Yeah.
I've always wanted because I can't work it there's non-competes are enforceable in Virginia, and I gotta go because 'cause I'm
We
not
thought
com
they were then.
I think it's
I think
a
they were then.
yeah.
Yeah.
In California, that's a no-no, but, back in Virginia, I think I'm sure it was. So I was like, "I'm just gonna move out to San Diego for a year and freelance or just bounce around, and then I'll be back," and that was like September 10th,
Yeah.
2001. It was literally right before 9/11.
Yeah.
Actually, I was freelancing at Orange County. No, I had not even started there yet. I hadn't even started at Fox 6 yet.
But I remember when
No,
you
but
came
I
in.
had yes, I had. Yeah, I was hired there
Yeah.
and I hadn't started working yet.
Right.
And my first day was right after September 11th. Like I hadn't even started working yet. And I had cut my foot in half basically in a surfing
Mhm.
debacle. And I was on crutches and had a cast on and everything. Anyway, enough about me. Now back to you.
No, actually,
So,
that's the time that's when I met you.
yeah, I know that was 2001,
Yeah.
2002.
Yeah.
That's
Look
crazy.
where we're at, 2026.
I mean, it flies by, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, okay, so they ship you off to Hong Kong. And back in Hong Kong, this is when Hong Kong was the transition back to
In
China.
'97, they did the
Like,
transition.
yeah.
Hong Kong itself didn't really change that much, only because it's such an economic hub. It's such a big hub for so many companies that obviously, they said it, transferred over, but it really didn't
It's
change
kind of
much.
yeah, it did, but so what was that like covering that? Was that a tough
97,
yeah, was that a tough
the
cover?
turnover was, incredible.
What do you mean?
It was one of those, you see, this is what this career does. It gives you a front row seat to history. So you're able to sit there and observe and be a part of it and see what's happening and relay it to people. So when I was there, it was celebration. I think a lot of businesses were worried that once China took over, that they would be out, but they couldn't afford to do it. They couldn't afford to get rid of those companies. There's a whole city in Hong Kong that's for Cathay Pacific, the airline. There's places where all the expats are, where the business, and you can't get rid of those huge corporations. You just can't. You can't go to communist China. So it operates like a business still.
What were some of the other big international stories that you covered when you were there?
There was the More Islamic Liberation Front, the Abu Sayyaf in the Philippines,
Abu Sayyaf, yes,
and
that was dicey, that got dicey for
I got
you.
dicey, and I did not know I was pregnant at the time, and so we
Oh,
went to the jungles of, yeah,
oh.
Mindanao, which is where they were in Zamboanga. And see, this
Oh,
is the thing with what we do for a living.
oh
We run toward the things that we probably should not be running toward, which probably makes us very good at what we do.
it that may be offline we can have more of that conversation. I feel like we put our there's a lot of unnecessary danger, like, even
We've done
just
that.
simply
Fire.
the fires, the Imperial Beach and the US-Mexico border here right now, the aerosols, and we send our well, not we, I mean, formerly we, but,
Formerly we.
at the local news station that I used to work at and that you still do, Fox 5 San Diego, KSWB in San Diego, there's a huge problem with, sewage runoff from
Yep.
on the Mexico
We
side.
send reporters there.
And I just in the mornings when the fog, I'm just like, "Oh, please don't ever send her there again." And I go to her and I'm like, "This is really bad for you." Not to mention the people who live there.
The particulates in
But
the air are bad. I mean, obviously,
they
that pollution, it's in the soil, it's in the air, it's in everything.
it's a disaster. It is an absolute disaster. It is the most overlooked environmental issue in the United States of America, in my opinion, right now.
Yeah.
That US-Mexico border and the problem with the sewage
And we're still
and
talking about it
yeah, I know.
and what's being
We were
done
talking
about it.
when you and I met in 2001, 2002, we were talking about it then.
Thing is, it's been going on for decades. Actually, it's been going on since the 70s. That's what people don't realize.
Mhm.
And so think of all that pollution. I mean, it's just funneling into Imperial Beach.
Yeah, we'll do that as a
That's
whole
another
that
that's another
you know
story
what?
altogether.
Yeah,
I'll come
yeah.
back.
Yes, and we'll get Lee Zeldin up in here, and,
Absolutely.
he came on the morning news when I was still working at the station, and we they did a great interview about that.
Mhm.
It's a priority, so hopefully they made a little progress with that. I know that he came back with some follow-up that was, eh, you know, it wasn't the end of the problem, but I guess you gotta chip away. So, back in the
That's what our
jungle,
job is to hold them accountable and
right?
do something about it.
Like,
So,
follow up.
yeah,
Yeah, follow
yeah,
up, and so you're in the jungle, you're pregnant.
yeah, and
Didn't know you were pregnant.
I was pregnant, was able to speak to the terrorist group and their leader.
How did you
And
get that interview?
just because they noticed me on TV and they said they talked to me. And I was also the person who could speak the language. So let's send her out.
Did you bring security with you or anything? I
No,
mean,
of
good
course
gracious.
not.
You had a
No. And this is the
the
whole
poor
point.
photographer is probably
This
thinking, "She thinks I'm gonna defend the terrorist group,"
Well, I think back then, you're part of a group, you're part of a team, and I think reporters and photographers are a team already.
Mhm.
But I had a photographer, I had a field producer, and back then an audio person. So they
Wow.
actually had
Holy cow.
so
Glam.
and then they didn't want us to let us go.
Really?
Yeah,
How did that work
they
out?
wanted us to stay. They kept delaying our ability,
For
and
how long?
overnight, which at the time, and I was pregnant and newly married. It was one of those things where I couldn't tell them anything about my condition or my, or anything else, because then I was worried that I would become a bartering chip.
Yeah, you become more high value.
Absolutely. So
So
I
do you
thought
feel like you were being held against your will?
I thought that we would become one of the hostages that they were taking, because that's why we went to talk to them, because they had taken a whole group of foreigners from from, you know, a resort and brought them in. And so there was like a German, person from England,
Did you get
y-
to talk to any of those people?
we did,
What was that
we did.
like?
They just want to go home,
Yeah.
and I think they're so frightened and so discouraged because they hadn't been home for months.
Yeah, and being held in a jungle by
So
terrorists.
and the thing is, I mean, who imagines that, right? But I put myself in that position. So at the time, I remember thinking, wow, I did this, and my husband at the time was so pissed off when I got home. Instead of being happy that I was home, he was so pissed off. And so the great thing was that at the time, you know, the the US knew we were in there. We had the Philippines, their army, they knew. So they had they had done enough to make sure that they were going to release us.
Yeah, there was enough
Like, that was gonna be a
visibility.
major liability for them.
There's probably a delta point there that it trips into, "Oh, this is gonna trigger, the US forces coming in here to
Yeah.
get her."
Yeah, it will become a
It's like,
problem.
we don't want that,
Yeah,
like,
we
okay.
we can't have that,
Okay, that
because
was
it's not just the Philippine Army, they don't care about the Philippine Army. They know that having a foreigner, Germany and all those countries didn't do much to get the people back.
whatever happened to those people?
They were finally released, and they finally went home,
Oh god.
but
Different people, I'm sure.
I
By
don't
the
think you ever would leave the same after something like that.
t
And they were in raised huts off the ground and, covered in, mosquitoes and things like that. It's something that I don't think I'll ever forget. And I thought, oh boy, I got myself into this. But again, for whatever reason, you run back in, right?
So they just came up to you and said, "Alright, time to go,"
Time to
or
go, get out.
yeah. You're like, "Okay, I'm
Yeah,
out, peace
get
out."
out.
So you go back, you turn your stories, and how much longer are you in Hong Kong, and where do you go from there?
Yeah, I was there from 97 to 2000. And then I came back to the US because, I was I was pregnant.
Yes, and your husband at the time.
It was from San Diego,
Right.
and specifically Chula Vista, California. He grew up there. And so we came back here. I was going to have my son in Canada, but they wouldn't let me fly because I was too big.
Oh. You were too big or you were too far along?
Too far along.
Okay, got it. Were
Do both.
so you had to stay.
Had to stay. So I had Nicholas here in San Diego.
Aw.
And but if you think about it, I didn't have a green card. I didn't have anything. I was Canadian citizen having a son in the US.
Oh.
Mhm.
So how did that work out? I mean, did you end up getting citizenship? I don't even know. I've known you for
So
25 years.
I
I don't
know.
even never thought to even
Asked me, right?
yeah.
So no, what I did was I was like, well, I had my son. I guess I got to apply for my green card.
Ugh. And did you do
I
that?
did, and of all people, Congressman Bob Filner,
Ah,
the infamous,
yes.
helped me get my green card through.
Okay.
So I became a green card holder. So I was a permanent resident
All right.
for years, actually until 2010. And I realized I have not been able to vote. I have not been able to do
Oh
anything.
my.
And I'm saying this now on the, day after the election, the primary election, I had no say in what was going on in the country that I lived in.
Yeah, and that your son was growing up in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that bothered me. And I felt more at home here. And it's funny because you can go from city to city to city to city. You just know where home is. Home is, you know, there's a feeling. You just know where you are. And so, that's how I ended up back here again, even after going away. He
All right. So when did we connect? You came here, you had your son, and he was a little baby when we met. He
That's
was
right.
still in a little
Was
car
still in
seat,
a
a
yeah,
little stroller.
yeah,
And we met at XETV.
XCTV, which was Fox 6 at the time.
Yeah, and it was uh, uh, Bay City TV, but it was owned by Televisa,
Televisa.
right? So we're there. We
We were
had a
transmitting out of Mexico,
yes,
actually.
Tijuana, and we had a signal that was so strong because the FCC rules in America, you can only your demographic area can only go so far, like I don't know, 90 miles or something. Who knows?
We
Something
were
like
known
that.
all throughout Tijuana and through
All the way up to
Mexico, all
Santa
the way to Santa
Barbara,
Barbara. Yeah.
Ensenada, like it was great.
Mhm.
And that when I just remember the guys from Canal Dulce when and the engineers
Yeah.
from our station when there was fires and that tower almost burned down, how they all went out there and saved that tower. But that station was great. We had a news director there named Al Pando, who
Who
was
fired both of us.
okay, but right. In all honesty, he fired me 3 times.
Right. Maybe.
I once for sure, but
I'm
he
pretty
fired
sure we were together at one point
right,
too.
he fired everybody.
Mhm.
I think I thought it was on the show. Maybe it was at the whole station. He fired every one day he fired
Yeah, he fired everyone. God bless him, I adore him.
he is the best,
He's the
man.
best.
He fired me 2 other times and for good reason. I was terrible. I had been
We were all terrible.
I was horrible. Like I had come out here from a square peg. And this is another thing I wanted to talk to you about towards the end once we learn more about you, but is how ownership groups matter. Like when I worked at WTKR Channel 3 in Norfolk, Virginia, that was a New York Times broadcast group. They
Right.
had 8 stations. And it was like working for the New York Times. I may as well have been in New York
The
City.
expectation's different.
Oh man, it was I walked out of that place. First of all, I ran out of that place at the end of my 2-year
Well, we had to
contract.
come up with stories. We
Within
had to enterprise stories. We always had to have one. If we didn't have one in the news meeting, we were in trouble. You had to you had to go get that story on your own.
it was
It was a lot,
it was unattainable. Like it was like
but we did.
I mean, yeah, but I didn't stay and I left my entire it was so unreasonable, but I had a gigantic J when I left there. In our business, that just means, journalism, a gigantic J means you've done the field work, you know what you're
Yeah, you
doing.
know what you're doing.
You gotten your butt kicked a bunch of times, I made tons of mistakes. I still had like short hair and I had no style. I still don't have much style,
You'd
but
also just gotten married, like, just years before that.
yeah, yeah, my first husband, and so that was it was a whole life ago. But that ownership group, they eventually sold all their stations
Right.
and did something else. But it really, mattered. So like who you work for is any business,
Every
your corporate culture. So when I moved out here and I started working at Fox 6, I was a square peg beat reporter, beat the street, work your sources, tough as nails, and
you know how much of a square peg you were? You would get dressed in the men's dressing room.
oh, that's because there was no room in the women's dressing room, and the women were not
They
nice
were
to me at
different.
first. Yeah, like
They were
there were
different.
yeah, and there was plenty of room over with the guys, and I had come from, I've always been friends with men
Of
and
course.
boy, when I was a kid, and I was a beach lifeguard, and that was at the
You
back
were
then,
comfortable there.
that was, all my guy those were my guys, like there was like 100 of us, and
And the
there
reason
was
I
like
say square peg, though, is just because you were, like, not willing to play the game with the girls that were in
oh, I
there.
don't have it in me. You and I are a lot alike that
We
way. Like
didn't.
that's
We
why we're
didn't
such
have
good
it in
friends.
us.
Yeah, no, I don't play that game. I don't I can't. There's no like DNA in here that allows that.
But I think
Yeah,
that's
I
what
had
makes
forgotten
you
that. I
yeah, I think that's
did.
what makes you a really great journalist. I think that that's you question things. You're not a sheep. You're not a you know what I mean? That's actually the biggest part is if you have a critical mind, you can look at things and go, "No, like, I'm not gonna take your word," you know?
You know what I found? I found that when I love asking the cringe hard questions.
Because it's there, it's
I
in the room, it's like the
love it.
elephant in the room.
I
Ask it.
love it. And the way that I frame it in my mind is, and I really believe this, is whoever I'm asking the question really wants me to ask it. Whoever I'm asking the hard question, they
Has to be
really
asked.
even if they did something wrong or they're doing something wrong, maybe it's just immoral, maybe it's just unethical, maybe it's criminal. They want to talk about whether they realize it or not,
Yeah.
and they can always decline, but I don't have any trouble. My
I can
most
go around your things. I'm not talking about that. I can go around that and keep asking questions.
Yeah, but they
And
wanna answer when they're standing there with you, it's not like you're, like, chasing them down the street. It's not
Mhm.
like TMZ or something. I don't even know if they still do that or ever did, but, they're there.
yeah,
They showed up for the interview. They really wanna answer the question, so I have no fear. I just that's just the way I look at it, is I have no fear. I asked the cringiest, the most proud moment of my entire 31-year career was on the baseball field at Padres at Petco Park. Jeff Morad was the owner of the team at the
team at the
time,
time.
and I had been freelancing for the Padres for 5
I
years
remember.
prior to that
Mhm.
as their feature reporter for their pregame show, for their home
That
games.
was fun.
That was a great gig, and it was a perfect place to work. I mean, from the CEO, the president, principal, owners, all the way to the janitors, all the men were perfect gentlemen. All the ladies were classy. The place was delightful.
Which
It was
goes to the
amazing.
whole point of, the company that owns your network or owns your station, that's a big part of it. They allowed us to do a lot of things
Back then, yeah,
back
no,
then.
you can't would you be able to do that freelancing now, I
I
wonder?
can't.
I
I
bet I
can't.
wonder if they would let me do that now, if I had still been employed. I just stopped working at the station, like, 2 months ago, but,
No, if you had been there no, because
I
our new
wonder.
contracts and our new network, they do not allow us to do anything outside of what we're doing. Everything that we do,
Hold on,
even outside of, it's connected to them. If it has anything to do with on air.
but don't they realize if you okay, especially with social media, like
Right. But
okay,
see, they
because
don't see the value of that because they wanna own it. They wanna own you. So it depends on who owns your TV station. When we were owned by Televisa, they let us do whatever we want.
yeah, Tribune
So
did too.
right, and Tribune did too. And so you were working for the Padres, and they loved it because it was extra,
Right,
promotion for them.
but the TV deal was through Cox Media,
Right,
so I worked for Fox and Cox.
right. Well, there's that.
But
Why
our
is that
but our
appropriate?
our very famous news director, Rich Goldner, said, "Okay," when he hired me because there was like a coup, and Tribune took the Fox affiliation
Yeah,
from Televisa to Tribune, and I went with it.
yeah.
And Rich Goldner was the reason for that. He's like an amazing news. We've been lucky. We have had the best
The
news directors.
reason I got the job at Fox 5 is because of you.
It is?
Yeah.
No, it might be because of all your hard work and
Well, no, but the thing is you brought me in and you said,
to Rich, yeah,
yeah, you
because
said,
he didn't know you,
yeah, you said
and you were
her.
yeah, and you were up at,
I was in Seattle.
Seattle,
I was
however
the
long
main anchor in Seattle.
at
Yeah,
KCPQ,
from 2007 until 2012.
and you wanted to come back to San
Mhm.
Diego, came back to San Diego, we're working at, like, the ABC station, right? The
Yeah, I was
ABC
the weekend anchor
yeah, and
at
I
the
was like, "You get
Channel
her." I was like,
10.
"What are you doing? You've got a position open, hire her, get her in here." And he was like, "I just don't know," like, and I was like, "Yeah, no, let's go." And then
That was
you
how.
were like main anchor by, 30 seconds later. I'm like palm to forehead,
Well,
Rich.
he also said when he I don't think he remembers this, but, you know, I had come from Seattle as the main anchor of the TV station of Seattle, which is a bigger market than San Diego, and I'd come back and I said, "I have this gig at Channel 10." Obviously, I was leaving it. I didn't renew my contract there. I don't often say things about the places that I work at, but I'm going to say it here. It was a terrible place to work at the time. And so I would rather be unemployed than work for a company that is terrible.
Must have been bad.
It was really bad. And
Jeez.
Rich did not have a position,
Ah.
but you had brought me in and said, please meet her, talk to her for a while, whatever.
Oh, I did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I came in and did that. And he called me back and he said, come on in. And he goes, so you're not working there anymore? I said, no, I just literally, it was a week after I left. Channel 10, and he said, "I don't have a position." And I said, "Okay." I said, "So what am I doing here?" And he goes, "I have a freelance position. And when you're freelancing, you're just getting paid by the day, a rate by the day, and you're just reporting." And I said, "What am I doing?" He goes, "You'll be reporting, but you'll also be filling and anchoring."
Oh, yeah. And that was the beginning.
And that was the beginning. And I said, "Fine." You know, I knew I needed healthcare. I knew I needed all those things. I had a son, who was 8 years old, 9 years old at the
Mhm.
time. And I just thought, well, I need a job. So it doesn't matter. I'll take it. And I'm not going to LA. I'm not going to go there because I won't be able to take care of him. I won't be able to be home on time. I won't have support over there, because I had my ex in laws here in San Diego. I had all of you. And so I felt comfortable coming here. And like I said, it's that feeling, you're home. This is home. It's
And
always
what
been.
once you started working there, how did that did you
I
kinda
just worked every day. I was reporting, doing my thing as usual. I had no errors about me. Because I think what he was looking at is like she's a main anchor, and she literally is doing
yeah, a little
general
overqualified. Yeah.
general reporting for us, and he
Well, that
he
can go
loved it.
wrong. That can but that could I can see now that you've mentioned that, I can see why he would think that because in my experience having overqualified people in a building,
Can turn it
it
into a nightmare.
goes south fast, and
But I
he
didn't
just
have
did
any errors about
that's
me. I
not your
didn't care. I just was happy to have a job.
yeah,
And I was happy to be working with you and with people that I knew and just be in the city that I loved. And so that was the first time I actually got to choose where I was. I didn't have to work there. I had other opportunities to go to other places. I just chose to take the freelance job. And he said, you know, I don't have a job for you. I have, a freelance position. And you, you know, he goes, and you'll fill in anchor once in a while. He goes, but I don't think you're going to regret it. Like, I'll make it worth your while.
it was a great place.
It was a great place.
It
It
was
was
that
probably
was our heyday.
that was our heyday. Absolutely. And there are times, in the news business where we spend more time with each other than we do with our families. That's the reality. So you are my family. People who we know are our family. That's how we operate. But it was great, and, before long, I was the weekend anchor, and then I was the, main dayside weekday anchor, and then now I'm the main anchor.
Didn't take long.
Well, in the grand scheme of things, I guess not, right? But
Yeah. Is there, a moment in all of this, like, what is that, like 30 years experience? In the last 25, 30, 30, whatever, uh, is there like a funny moment that sticks out? I know we cannot talk about it on this podcast, but on air or at work, not in my house in La Jolla, that
right, we have a few we have a we have a
do you
few
remember what I'm talking about?
we have a few
Yeah.
memories too in Imperial.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
we've got a few things.
Yeah, but I mean, as far as news, is there like a moment, like a memorable moment where there
Yes.
was funny or it was defining or just like a
Funny, I can tell you the funny one.
all right.
I was out in the field, I was covering something at Ocean Beach. It was a big event, you know?
This story could go anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Ocean
We
Beach
were
is wild.
it is wild, and
Yeah.
that's the problem. So they were doing some sort of, like, big festival thing there, and because I was in the sand, I decided, "I'm gonna take my shoes off," right? Well,
Because you were probably wearing like 6-inch heels.
right, so gotta walk into the sand.
Feeling you.
Yeah, of course, I think I sent you a few
She
photos of
wears
that too.
heels everywhere and they don't hurt your feet or anything.
No, I
So
think I've been doing it for I covered fires in high heel boots, I don't know
oh,
if you remember that.
no,
Yeah, yeah,
girl.
but and the firefighters actually sent me a gift after the cedar fire. It was kind of a joke. They sent me Nomex boots with heels on them, block heels on the back.
Okay, back to Ocean Beach.
Back to Ocean Beach. So, we're out there, it's crazy. My photographer's knocking people out of my shot, while I'm doing the live shot. And then my expensive shoes. You know me and shoes. I love shoes. So
Mhm.
um they were Jimmy Choo shoes. Of all the things that I was so proud to have them. I was so happy, these designer shoes. They got ripped off. They got ripped off, and I ended up chasing the person who ripped them off. It was a dude,
You were it was a pursuit on foot?
pursuit on foot with my microphone. And at the time, you'll remember our news director was Tana.
No.
Yes.
This was at XETV?
I was so angry because she sent me there because she
Oh.
insisted on sending me there. And so I blamed her for losing them, and I gave her a receipt, an invoice for the shoes. It was the funniest thing ever.
She didn't pay that.
No, she didn't, but I fought her for a long time on that one. We
Yeah.
had some
Did you not
funny.
I'm surprised you didn't catch the guy or the girl who took your shoes. Did you catch
No,
him?
no, I didn't. And, I just remember seeing him run away with my shoes.
How dare he?
It just was funny. It was funny for the photo because at first he didn't know whether he should laugh or not. Finally, I was like, I was so pissed off. I
Well,
got back to the TV station. I had no shoes on.
you had to go back with bare feet.
I had bare feet.
Do you have any spare shoes in your
No,
car?
of course. And those are the moments where you learn, oh, yeah, let's take an extra pair of shoes in case,
You know what?
because we do that.
That is true.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You always have an extra suit, dress, something in the
Something.
car just in case you spill coffee or somebody throws up on you or something random.
But even our bag that we take with us, we usually have extra things in there, even, flip flops or even, slippers,
Oh,
whatever.
yeah, for sure.
Right. But at the time, I did not. And so I don't know why I didn't even think to do it, but who
Who's
thought that my shoes were going to get stolen?
who was your favorite co-anchor or to date? Well, I mean, you, not including your current co-anchor because I don't want that to be like, oh, wait a minute, I'm the favorite. Let's just say, or you,
Outside of
wait,
him,
yes.
I've had some really fun co-anchors. I'll say fun more than anything else. I had a co-anchor in Seattle. His name is David Rose.
Oh my God. He was
He used to
great.
work with our Phil. And
Yeah.
so on Extra,
Uh-huh.
on Extra. So back in the day when Extra was new.
Yeah, no, we remember I would go up and visit in Seattle and we would all end up going out,
He's wild.
partying. Yeah, he is
He's
a
wild.
trip.
He's a trip.
Wonder what he's up to these
He
days.
got married.
No
He
kidding. Good
did.
for
Yeah.
him.
So he's sort of settled down, which is hard to imagine because at the time he was just,
A wild child. He was
he
living
was a moment away from becoming a headline. I am serious.
Why
when I
am I
say that.
remembering like a hot tub and
Oh, yeah,
like
it was there. Because you know why? Because at 2 in the morning, I got called
that's
to go get him at a hotel where he could not find his clothes because
Yeah.
he'd somehow gone on. And I love David Rose. We're not disparaging him in any way, but he was wild and he can admit that too.
Oh, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
I
It was
love
fun. It
him.
was, those were the moments where like, I was like,
Yeah. Oh,
grab a hotel, robe, let's go. We're going.
You had your fly swatter with you. You're like, I'm
I
gonna
was
hit you
like,
with this fly
"Oh,
swatter.
get out of there, let's go." So it was a
Oh,
lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I had a co-anchor overseas, and his name was Maria Arcega-Dunn. He taught me a lot. He taught me a lot about, because I was so young at the time. I didn't have a child at the time. You're young. You have a different mindset. There's so many versions of yourself throughout the years.
Okay, so
But David Rose, so much fun.
so many people. I put out a couple of posts online on social, like, what do you want to? I'm starting this podcast. What do you want to know about? A lot of people came back with kind of wanting to know about like inside baseball. Like, how do you choose the stories, and how do you decide which one goes first, and
Mhm.
all of that. And I think that people would find it really interesting to find, like, just to listen to like a line producer talk about the challenges on how to just stack a show as the main anchor of the newscast. What is it like for you on the inside? Like, how do you decide what is the
And I
lead?
think I think in many ways as the main anchor of the show, you are the EP as well. So you're
Executive
working with your EP, with your executive producer, and you're going, hey, you know, I think this story is more important, like it needs to go to the top. And that's without bias. So that's without saying this is more important to me. It's more about
The
viewer
community.
benefit.
Yeah.
What
When
are they going to benefit from? And that can often be a news story, but an international story or a national story can trump it depending on what's happening. So
so
you have to
then
decide those things and you have to decide where reporters are going. Oftentimes, because we know so many people in the community, we know where to send them. or we'll send them the contact information so that they have it. So, but reporters these days, they work hard, but I think we worked harder. We didn't have the resources they did.
Oh, you mean online or
Yeah,
open
we
source
had
kind of thing?
none of that.
Can you imagine if we had open source, the ability to use open source intelligence back when we were beat reporting?
My
No,
life would have been easy.
oh my gosh, I would have I can't even imagine, like, it's just incredible the access to information. It's almost too much. It's almost hard to find things now in a way because it's
It
like,
is. It is,
you
but
know,
I think that that would have first of all, we would have been so productive
oh my gosh.
instead of just one story
But
or just,
there is
but we did
nothing
so much.
nothing that replaces, though, the beating the street and having your own sources and your own face to face. There's nothing that beats that. I
Well, I
mean,
think, in watching News Evolve, I've watched the people evolve too. So we're talking about generations, right? So, Gen Zs, we're Gen Xers, right?
mhm.
So, although Chrissy would, argue she does not know how old I am at
Well,
all.
that's because you
I
lie.
lie. I
But
know I do.
like, okay,
Actually, that's a
yeah,
big joke between Chrissy and me is that we because I don't like it when people don't listen.
bro. Let me just tell you, this is the deal. This chick right here, she lies. She tells a different age, like to everybody she talks to. But I guess I'm the only one that picked up on it,
You're
right?
the
Yeah,
only one who said, "Wait a minute,
like
what?"
you just said, hold on, and then you just wait a minute,
I
and
said it
then
to 2 people and, like, they didn't even notice.
yeah,
You did.
yeah, and then you're like, "Hey, you're one of those that gets things, huh?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's be friends."
Yeah. I just thought
Look,
I find it amusing because people like to guess how old you are, and then when you tell them, they don't even
it doesn't
it
really,
doesn't even
yeah,
register
and it's interesting about Gen Xers. You don't hear them about us at all ever. Like it's
because we don't
millennials,
complain.
Gen Z. Yeah, we just work our butts off. We're not
And
like
we
the.
always did.
Uh,
That's my point. And I think, obviously, millennials, Gen Z, they've had a lot of resources at their fingertips. There's a very, instant gratification type thing for them. We had to dig, which makes
yeah.
us a little more resourceful. Let's be honest. Actually, makes us resourceful, period. We can find our way around things. Like I even know with my own son, there were moments where I was like, you know,
Figure it
think
out.
out, figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's very smart.
Yeah.
You just literally, yeah, I would go, if you can't if you can't get through it, go over it. If you can't get through it, go under it. If you can't go through it, I you always find a way to do things, and that's the benefit of being from Gen X. Plus
Um,
we're not offended easily.
what were you talking? We were talking about Generation X. What were you talking about that got us talking about that in the first place? What did I ask you? What were we talking about? It was uh
Just what
we
we
were talking about open source, or was that before
that
that?
was before that.
Yeah, anyway, I forget. But as far as
That's your
okay,
menopause brain talking, by the way. That's mine anyway.
no, my son just walked by and it caught my I was like wondering, then I was like, because when you have a when you I left TV, he's tiptoe. Can you see him
Yeah, I
tiptoeing?
can.
Love you.
Yeah.
It's that's why I left TV
Yeah, you wanna
news.
be with him.
I got like 4 more years, and like you were saying earlier, it's like we spend so much time at work. And it's like when I decided to leave Fox 5, I was I had been wanting to be I had wanted to be a full-time mom, right? I didn't know what that meant, so I didn't even know that I was thinking it, and I went to Google it, but I was so busy. Like my life
You
was
never got to follow through.
yeah, like I Googled it, how to be a stay-at-home mom, and I didn't have a chance to even look at or read what popped up. And days later, my son was on Google and he looked at the history and he goes, Mom, from another room, did you just Google how to be a stay-at-home mom? And I went, yeah. And I was like hustling around the house,
That's the pivotal
making
moment.
dinner with one hand and doing bills with another. And I said, "Yeah, but I didn't have a chance to read what came up." And then I realized, "What am I doing, man? I gotta do something different. This kid's gonna be out of here in like 4 years, and I'm gonna be." And they kept
And
expanding
you're
my
very lucky
hours.
you could do that.
Well,
You
I
know,
gotta I gotta make this work, like, this has gotta work. It will. It
it
will.
will work.
It's going to. It already is. It's starting to work right now. What? Can you give me a high five? All right. So, I realized, like, I didn't even have time to look up how to be a stay-at-home mom. Like, this is
That's
crazy.
how busy.
This is insane. They kept expanding my hours. They
And
kept and adding
adding things.
responsibilities.
Mhm.
And it's when you work a morning show, that is all I ever did was morning
You're already
shows.
compromised in the
So
morning because you're up at such a crazy time.
I can't speak for every news director in America, but I think most new or in the world, most news directors understand that you will have no if people will leave your morning show after their contract, if they have to work 8 and 9 hour days, like in the building
Mhm.
every single day,
Mhm.
like they need to be able to just leave. Like if you're getting up at 2:45 in the
Not do
morning
a podcast.
and not do a podcast, like when you should be walking out the door, that kind of thing. So there was just at the very end, they were making it like it wasn't personal. I
It
mean, it
wasn't
was
sustainable for you as a mother.
no, right. I think somebody who didn't have any other responsibilities might be able to do it. And I found that I was never discriminated against for getting older. I almost got more valuable. I don't,
I feel like I'm more valuable as I go.
yeah, that
Yeah.
whole like once you reach a certain age, that's a bunch of nonsense. Like the older, because it's hard to retain older women with more experience, and
You need them there.
yeah, and it's harder because they have a lot of experience and they realize like, hey, I can do a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
somewhere
I'm
else.
doing a lot more too.
Like, yeah, you're doing a lot, as you would, there's
I
no doubt
do.
about that. But I did not feel ever like I was paid less or I was treated. I never, not once, ever. I
Oh,
just like it was.
but at this point, literally, we're like, I don't have the time for all of this. I want to be home with my kid.
Yeah, like, I'm grateful, so grateful. I mean, we had heyday. I mean, the mega map, we would have, like, bikini people in bi women in bikinis on, like, yachts in our
Yeah,
back lot and swimming pools, hot tubs. I mean, we were nuts. We were insane.
that was the heyday,
It was a blast,
and it
and
was
I
great
did picture of the day. I was the
every day.
OG IG, me and Edwin
Mhm.
Tacte. He made me look like I don't. And, that was the most clicked on thing on
You
our
always look good.
website. That was the most clicked on thing on our website, uh, and second most clicked was Faces of Meth. So that was the Fox
That
5.
was
It
you
was my
and
me picture of the
Faces of
day,
Meth.
Faces of Meth, and then the third most
No, but
thing.
that was a huge thing because it was like your outfit of the day every day, and everybody wanted to see it.
Well, I had a clothing deal with a fancy boutique in
Right.
La
I
Jolla
remember it.
through the Padres,
I know.
not through Fox 5, but through the Padres as part of my deal with them. And God, they were great. I loved working with them. I did, but
But see,
I
again,
was
ownership. We
yeah,
could promote things like that. We could
well,
promote the companies that supported us. We could promote, whether it's our clothing, our hair, our makeup, whatever. And now we can't do that. There are so many things that are restrictions. And I'm not saying one thing is better than the other, but I think to go back to the fact that, ownership is a big deal.
man, they set up in 2008, and we by the way, we've got like 10 minutes to go. In 2008, when Twitter and Facebook came out, I think it was 2008,
Mhm.
2009, David Johns, our executive producer at the time, started all of our social media
Yeah.
accounts for us on and encouraged us to
To do
post, post, post.
promote.
And I've always been super private. I've never talked about my personal life on TV, never, ever, ever. In fact, my husband and my son were dubbed classified and
Classified,
top
top secret.
secret by my executive producer Brad Luck at the time. And I just never felt comfortable talking. I always wanted it to be about the people, like everybody else on earth feels perfectly comfortable sharing their stuff. I just don't. But
I think it's also because we reveal so much of ourselves every single day. Why do that's personal. That's for you.
yeah.
That's them.
Yeah,
It's
so
their
I just
privacy.
yeah, it is a so they started so we would post, and that's when I started posting the picture of the day
Mhm.
because, my colleagues and, rightfully so, got huge followings because um, they were doing the, family thing where they would put their families on
Yeah.
and everything,
And
so they got a lot of
everybody has a thing that they do that
yeah.
people want to see.
But it's evolved now. So they were like, the ownerships and the managers were like, get all the followers and do all the stuff online. And
Mhm.
back then we were like, hey, guess what? We could attach this and stream this. And we were the ones that were saying, we need to get apps going. And an example
We
of an
used
app,
to measure who was watching each of our Instagrams.
but they never connected the social media with the broadcast, they didn't start doing that until like yesterday.
Mhm. I
And
mean,
it
it's
was
a
like way,
benefit for
way,
them.
way too late and to the demise of local news. Because if they had, we saw it back then, we were like, hey, let's stream this into
Mhm.
YouTube.
Yeah.
Like right now, back in 2010 or whatever it was. And they were like, no, no, it's the IP and this, that. And I was trying to tell them how they could do this with you can actually see who is watching you and where and all this kind of, they were like, no, over the air, over the air. And here we are in 2026. Now, all of a sudden, you guys, not,
Can't do
they're like,
don't promote that.
brakes, put on the brakes, slam on the brakes. And now what can you do online now? Like before I left, you
I
and I
can't.
believe like some of the other really high performers, they were getting slammed. They were getting called into the
Mhm.
manager's office and getting in trouble, written up like children for
Mhm.
for doing things online that they were encouraged to do just years before that they were never told not to. Am I wrong?
Right. And so I think that that's a tough transition. That's another way that things have evolved. They don't want the company doesn't want any affiliations with other companies or wants to use our what would you call it? Our, you know, fame, I guess. Fame? Is that what it is?
Market
Market
availability.
avail yeah,
That, in other
exactly.
words, how many people know we're around, who we are, our name recognition,
It's name recognition.
reputation.
Absolutely. But that's all we've got. And the thing is, I don't think any of us would do anything that would affect our reputation in a bad way, you know?
But
And
it's like, how do you, I mean,
so they've
but
just
you
basically
could
put the
run
brakes on
the
everything.
amount of followers that you have that like Heather Lake has.
Uh-huh.
Like you could make so much money off of your social
Mhm.
media accounts,
I
but
could
they don't let you,
they
do
won't let
they?
us do it at all. No, because if we do, then it's theirs.
Even your personal accounts, even if they were personal and private,
No,
I don't
because
know.
we're connected and they believe that they own our everything.
Likeness. Yeah.
Likeness.
And in a way they do.
They do.
We
They
have to, we
do.
sign these contracts where we
They
say we're not
believe
going to join
that,
the strip
if
club.
we create another Instagram account and we're promoting, say, weather or something like that, you know, we have to tag them because the reason we're known is because of them. So they want to attach themselves to that if you're going to do it.
Well, that does make sense, like, but I mean, do you have to?
Mhm,
Oh,
mhm.
oh,
And it's fine. You figure it out. You figure out ways around it. My Instagram account has changed a lot over the years only because of ownership. And, I obviously I also know that I have to lead by example, and that's just you know, who I am in the capacity that I'm there, and so, you do what you can, you work kind of around it and make it work.
biggest difference in news now? Com-
Resources.
yeah. Oh, well, I was going to ask you. Oh, I know what I was going to ask you. I remember now. The about stacking, the inside baseball for news anchors. You were talking about your cooperation with the executive
Mhm.
producers and that kind of thing. And then, but now here's another thing that now we're having duopolies and triopolies
Yeah.
in markets, and so
And that's
we're
working one TV
sharing
station.
sharing resources. So it's Fox 5, KSWB, and KUSI
Mhm.
are now in this owned by the same people, and now soon it's going to be also the Tegna,
The Technic Group, the
K-
KFMB.
KFMB Channel 8. And I guess all three will be in the same building if that deal goes
Mhm.
through, that kind of thing.
Sounds like they will.
Well, they all have. So what happened when what the line producers told me their challenges, big challenges were when we merged or when Nexstar purchased KUSI, there were layoffs, of course, and then there were limited resources. So there would be one reporter or one
And you
photographer,
share them between both
and
stations.
you have to share. And
So
then
timing is an issue.
right? And whoever, like, how do you decide who gets, so Jeff wants, this is
Yeah,
his lead,
yeah.
but and it's his reporter
And I
for,
think the
and then the other
producers
station gets it.
I think the producers for both have to work it out. That's just how they do. And so
Yeah.
even if it's our top story, we tease it from the top. And then if we don't have them right away, we do a first story that is just as important. And then we go into that. We find a way to let it work its way into that.
Yeah.
So
You just figure it out.
mhm.
Yeah. I
It's
don't,
just segueing into things. So you have to figure out a way to make it work. If you don't have them right away, you can't do anything. So make it work. That's always our job, make it work.
What's your motto? What's your motto in
In
life?
life,
Mine is create and connect.
oh, that's great. I like
Yeah,
that.
I like create and connect. Oh, and, do the right thing and do things right.
Oh, yeah.
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 Don't be a jerk. That's a
I, th-
good one.
I think that don't be a jerk is a really big one. There's a few
Don't
that I
be a
can think.
giant a-hole. That's one. Yeah, no, but create and connect. And that's what you're good at.
Yeah.
That connection, you're good at connecting people, seeing somebody and saying, you know what, I know who would be a good mentor for you or who you could mentor
Mhm.
or, who you would work well with or you might want to date or something,
Yeah.
being able to connect or just create new things, just create new things out of thin air. I think that's
My whole thing is if you can see it, you can be it.
like with your mind's eye.
Everything, whether you see it in front of you or whether you see it here, if you see it, you can be it.
Amen. Can I get a witness?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people who I think they follow through is a big thing. I believe in life, and I think that that's a lost art. People don't know how to follow through or follow up.
Yeah, just put it on the calendar.
Get it done.
Yeah, just if you got a lot going on, just put it on the calendar. Like everything goes on the calendar. Like follow up on this, follow up on that. It's like of course you're going to forget. Or
Do
if
it
you even
right,
care.
do
Yeah.
it right, and do it well.
Yeah. And take criticism well. Like
Yeah.
don't be afraid.
Learn
Don't
from it.
don't be afraid to, because I learned how to take criticism a long time ago and it was Al Pando
Oh,
who
yeah.
taught
I
me.
think both of us.
Yeah, and it
Because
was
he
people
was so
just make
direct.
up people make up stuff about it. I mean, like, there are, there's a lot of that. But, even with the negative feedback, look for something in there that might help you, benefit you, and it
I
trains you to learn when somebody criticizes
I
you.
also think that in life, when you're put in a position or you're in a position where you find yourself in where you are, at your lowest point, there's all, there's always a way out. This moment won't last, and who you become after and how you deal with it is what matters most. So it's more about not about the mistake or about the failure, it's a recovery. So, and I don't really even think failure, I don't think of anything as failure. I think it's, the universe repivoting you or teaching you something that you need to repivot, to move around. And you have to be flexible. Life is not always the things that you plan, right? It just happens. I got very sick. You were there for me through those years. I got very sick. I went through major divorce. I went through all these things, and, you know, I think I'm better and stronger and smarter and have more insight than most people. I appreciate life because we're here, enjoy those moments, enjoy those seconds. I look at you and I'm so happy that you're home with your son. I didn't get that. I didn't get that because I didn't have the opportunity to do that because I didn't have somebody who was a partner to support me in whatever I was doing. Not financially, not even that, just somebody who was there to help me. And, you know, you have the benefit of being able to watch your son, go into college, go into high school.
Mm, I know. It's, yeah, and I don't wanna miss it.
Yeah. You don't
Well,
want to miss anything.
Maria, thank you for making time, and,
I have one more thing.
what's that?
One of the things I'm grateful for in this career is the people that became family for me, and you're one of them.
Right back at you.
Mhm,
You're one of the if not the first person I
mhm.
call in time of
Yeah, it's happened.
need and want and, curiosity. I mean, yeah, I mean, like, it really not everybody that you meet in this business is like,
It's amazing, but you learn from them too.
yeah, and it's a cherished relationship when you
Yeah,
have a friendship, especially when you meet as adults, like it's,
and you know each other inside and out, and you know what somebody's capable of or what they're not. there's a truth to that and an honesty to that.
Well,
So
God,
I'm grateful for it.
I
That's actually one of the things.
I could not be more grateful for you, like, that it is, like, a gigantic amount of gratitude, and with that, let's wrap it up for here for now, and until next time you come
Until
on the
next
show,
time.
how about that?
All right. Chrissy Russo Show. Here we go.